Girl. Pop music, parties, painting my kitchen pink. Dinner parties, curvy bodies, not caring what you think. Run like us, the safest hug. Odds defied, cathartic cries. Skincare routine, primal scream. Mini skirt, healing hurt. Crochet a blanket, sometimes fake it. Selfie, vanity, period panties. Ephemeral moods, ephemeral dudes. A Taylor Swift concert. Choosing each other, inherent mothers. Give us a smile, show us a twirl, but only if you feel like it, being a girl. So, that was the first poem in Haley Lu Richardson's collection, I'm Sad and Horny. If you were ever curious as to how I come up with my video ideas, sometimes I just Google the word poetry, then go to the news tab and see if anything interesting comes up. Back in March, People put out an article about an upcoming collection from White Lotus's own Haley Lu Richardson. But the book itself wouldn't come out until November 4th. So I set a reminder in my phone and picked up the book on the day of its release. Was it worth the wait? Alright, you probably already know what I'm thinking. Before I jump into my critiques here with this poem, I'll just say it's probably clear that I'm not the intended audience. Even so, I feel like the poem is kind of only scratching the surface of its subject matter. The title and the final line make the ethos clear, no? And yet, the poem doesn't give me that much more insight into being a girl than I already had before. There are certainly moments that pique my curiosity. The phrase, painting my kitchen pink, is the real standout. I imagine Richardson could write an entire poem about just that one event. The phrase, inherent mothers, also creates some intrigue, but these bright spots aren't enough to sustain the poem or set it apart from other poems about girlhood. I'll reiterate, I'm probably not the intended audience here, but for comparison, let me show you another poem about girlhood and womanhood that has stuck with me for years. Small content warning, the imagery in this poem can be pretty visceral, and the subtext deals with sexual violence and misogyny. This is Pinkbox by Kim Hyesoon, translated from Korean by Don Mi Choi. Pinkbox that has just arrived, Pinkbox that waits to be opened. When I embrace the box, it smells of a faraway place, but no one who goes inside can escape. Ah, adorable Pinkbox. Pinkbox, my first baby. Hello, Pinkbox. I want to rock Pinkbox in a cradle. For your information, God doesn't know how to make anything rectangular. Folded Pinkbox. I want to forget about everyone. Want to forget about mommy and daddy. I'll just lie down like a knife blade and dream only of revenge. Pinkbox has two hidden breasts that pull on the chest painfully. Blood streamed down Pinkbox. This box is smaller than me. It's unbearably tight. Pinkbox has a bleeding pink hole. Pinkbox will die if the tape is ripped and light is shown inside. I'm a sick Pinkbox. I hated the pink all the time. It's useless to try and be heard outside the box. No one listens closely to what a box has to say. Rest, eat, forget, bell ringing box. Pinkbox can't speak, hear, or see under the deaf blackboard. You need to become a sick Pinkbox if you don't want to go to school. Look over there at the high-rise apartment building. In each box, boxes lean and look out at the same boxes. Dented Pinkbox. Love has been a prisoner inside me since I was born. Someone gnawed at Pinkbox like a cornered rat every time I couldn't see you. Pinkbox is still a Pinkbox, no matter how many times it gets folded. Pointless to ask Pinkbox what's in the box. I'll become a Pinkbox that sings, drifts about, and overflows when you arrive. I'll become a boat with a pink light foaming its way through the rainy night. I'll become a boat of pink light carrying trees with leaves out to the wide, wide sea. Yet life is nothing but a glance from a torn hole, a distant thing. I'm just an empty box, a discarded, crushed Pinkbox. Unfolded Pinkbox has spit out all the precious writing like an old silkworm. When did this all happen? Like a lone plank of wood floating in the sea of pitch-black darkness. There's nothing. Pinkbox takes a lashing from the rain. Dirty toes dig in as Pinkbox gets flattened in the underground passage. Pinkbox with cold hands and feet. When will I sink down? Fallen Pinkbox. Torn Pinkbox, Pinkbox cast away. It might be better to grab onto the horizon. Can't embrace it since it has parted far. Dirty Pinkbox, smelly Pinkbox, crumpled Pinkbox, flowing Pinkbox. Pinkbox covered with faded writing. Dirty pink, old pink, open hole pink, flapping its hair down pink. Like a camera, pink captures you, but there is nothing after the film is taken out. Don't let the box return. It's just dirty paper. Burn this box. I hope you can see why this one has stuck with me for so long. As I pointed out in the content warning, there is some visceral language here, but that's one of the poem's biggest strengths. Kim takes such a creative, gut-wrenching approach to her topic. And granted, it's pretty obvious that Richardson is going for an entirely different mood here than Kim is, but even so, I think there'd be a more unique approach to what she's got going on. There are other things that bother me about this poem. I feel like the repeated use of ephemeral was totally avoidable. Also, the phrase, a Taylor Swift concert, on top of just aging kind of poorly at this point, takes away from any sense of timelessness the poem could have. It's also a little crazy to me that this phrase is its own entire stanza, structurally on par with the poem's last line. There are multiple pop cultural references in this book, and they do tend to suck the energy out of their pieces. Don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying pop culture references can't work in a poem, but they're a lot better when they form the basis of the poem rather than acting as unexpected insertions. I'll show you some more examples later. But before we go on, let's talk a little bit about first impressions. As I was just skimming through this book, I found it quite similar to other celebrity collections, at least at a glance. It uses the Courier font and includes plenty of art pieces on and between the poems. The book credits Lily Jade Kravitz as the artist, and I think she did quite well. Aesthetically, this might be my favorite of the celebrity poetry collections I've read, maybe with the exception of Bob Odenkirk's. His daughter's drawings were very charming. In the introduction, Richardson lays out her intentions with the collection. From the 8th stanza, paragraph down? Not sure. From here on, it says, I share them with hope you relate and resonate with the words in ways my favorite songs resonate with me. I hope they make you giggle, I hope they make you feel a little more okay with your own life, and even a smidge less alone. Thanks for reading my sad and horny take on existing in my 20s. And as someone who's also existing in their 20s, I don't think that's such a bad lens around which to frame a poetry collection. In theory, that framing could resonate with many people. But at the same time, since that's such a broad topic, existing in your 20s, any author would have to approach it with some uniqueness. This poem, Beauty and the Snail, is slightly better than the first. It reads, Triumph, another day, cried at work, and it wasn't even on camera. Only one guy saw. I can't remember his name. Overheard when no one asked, couldn't find the words when it mattered. Drank a green juice after my pad thai. They all laughed at me. I must have missed the joke. It rained, didn't complain. Heart too big, weird gig. 3 a.m. zoomies. I love making movies. Watched some snails between takes. Give you everything I have. 16 hours later, I scrubbed fake blood off in the bath. First, I'll say that I still don't think the poem lives up to its title. Beauty and the Snail is really fun, but the snails don't actually feel all that integral to the piece. That said, I like that we're getting more specificity here, much stronger imagery to latch onto. Only problem is, in my opinion, it's still not specific enough. I find myself with some frustrating questions here. Why was the speaker crying at work? Who is the they in line 9? The speaker's coworkers, I assume. But why do they seem to hate the speaker so much? Or is this all in the speaker's head? Kind of like with our first poem, I feel like there's not enough insight here despite what we do have to latch onto. Now, it's a hard line to walk in a poem, giving your audience enough context to understand, but not so much context that they feel like you're holding their hand. We're going to talk about that more as we continue through the collection. The next poem here feels right in its context, but wrong in its progression. I'll read it for you and maybe you'll see what I mean. Icky. Brushing my teeth at night thinking about that one thing I did last Tuesday at dinner. Ew. Why are you like this? Dag on my toothbrush. Vomit. Embarrassing. Annoying. Cringe. Too much. Too loud. Not even funny. Christy asks me, where have you heard these words before? Oh, right. They aren't mine, and I'm no longer yours. Spit out the last bit of toothpaste and look to myself in the mirror my mom bought me at an antique shop in Arizona that sold taxidermy. Hey, you're pretty cute. So this poem is built on a relatable sentiment. Haven't we all had those embarrassing thoughts come back to us from time to time that make us cringe and express self-doubt? But because that idea is so relatable, Richardson would need a new and interesting way to convey it. That's where the toothbrush comes in. I like this idea of gagging on the toothbrush and vomiting, and yet that visual feels so de-emphasized by the poem itself. In my mind, that should be the heart of the piece. That's something that's never happened to me before, nor to anyone else I know. It would also further emphasize the embarrassment the speaker claims they're feeling. From there, the transition into the antique mirror and the connection with the mom would be even stronger in my mind. So I hope you see what I mean when I say the progression feels off here. As I'm editing this video, I realize I said the poem felt right in its context, and I wanted to elaborate on that a little more. True, we don't know what the speaker did at dinner, and frankly, I do think it would be nice to know, but ultimately it's not strictly necessary. We get by without that information, and I think the poem's point still stands. What's more, we also understand that this voice of self-loathing isn't the speaker's, but likely a past relationship, based on Christie's words, and that too feels like good context without telling us everything outright. This also makes the memory of the mother a better visual and the mirror a stronger symbol. Still, I really do want to know what the speaker is cringing at. It would be nice to get into their head. Remember, good authors don't withhold. But okay, edited insertion over, back to the video. There's also this bit written in here where it says, "Christy is my therapist, PS." And like, am I supposed to take that as part of the text? Why doesn't the poem just say, "My therapist asks me"? I don't know, call that nitpicking if you want. Seeing it just kind of takes me out of the text. And speaking of decisions that take me out of the text, this next piece is called American Horror Story. I always thought it was weird how much you liked to suck my dick. Words heard during a breakup. And at the bottom of the page, Richardson writes, "That's it. That's the poem." So she gets points for self-awareness, I guess, but I don't know, lampshading doesn't really make it better. The substance is kind of interesting, obviously pretty funny, but I rather would have liked to hear what the speaker thought about the words they overheard instead of just leaving me alone to think about it. And like I said, that's a tough balance. I don't want poets to tell me what to think, but the poem still has to give me something. If I wanted to overhear people talking, I could do that anywhere, but I came for the poems, and in turn, the poet's perspective. Here's my way of thinking about it. I don't want a poem to tell me what to think, but I want a poet to tell me what they think in the most engaging way they can, and then allow me to decide whether I agree or disagree. But to that point, let me know what you think. As with many things in poetry, it's all very subjective. Where do you think the line is between necessary context and reflection versus spoon-feeding the audience? Here's another Richardson poem that I feel simply isn't giving enough at all. Thrifted. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and that's why I shop at Goodwill. Like, come on, as the reader, what am I even supposed to think about this? A cliche with a lame punchline? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but there's just not much to this one. Then again, maybe you think it's funny. Richardson does try to inject humor into her pieces. This one is called Perv. Toothbrush, hairbrush, showerhead, cucumber, curling iron, post of the bed, electric shaver, mascara container, massage chair with a strong vibrator, an extra large carrot, a dollop of butter. This is just my shopping list. Get your mind out of the gutter. This one is kind of funny. I feel like the title almost primes you to think the speaker is the perv, so it's a fun reversal when Richardson reveals the reader is the perv. But if I may nitpick, putting a single bedpost on a shopping list? Okay, on a more valid note, this piece actually reminds me of one that Halsey had in their collection, and I felt they honestly treated the concept more interestingly. It's fine to write a poem similar to another poem, but what will set it apart? You could say the humor, and that would be fair, but in my mind, the brief laugh I get here doesn't give the poem a wildly lasting impression. And speaking of humor, obviously that sort of thing is subjective, but Richardson's jokes had me rolling my eyes more than laughing. I guess I should have known what I was getting into with a book called I'm Sad and Horny. Oftentimes I felt like she was determined to tell the same joke multiple times, just in a different font. Remember those pop culture references I mentioned earlier? Take a look at this piece. Safe at the Colosseum. Period sex. His hand, her neck, her mouth, his breath. Accomplices. Their little death. She gives him her body. Fill me up. Have me all. He growls. Look at me. They die. They fall. In this moment, she is everything. A devil divine. She is made for this only. Gladiator bloodline. She is predator and prey. Power, purpose, and pity. This must be how Samantha feels in Sex and the City. Covered in them, he wipes off her hip, her blood on his shoulder, on his finger and lip. She sighs out the high and prepares for the low. Instead, her heart roars, a sustained crescendo. He kisses her slow. That's when she knows. All she needs other than him is pistachio gelato. The reference to Sex and the City is so jarring, it completely destroys the tone the poem built up to that point. It almost feels like the setup to a Family Guy cutaway gag. In a sort of similar way, this poem uses the word Hufflepuff. I'm not going to read it for you, but I wanted to point it out for that reason. The poem directly following that one also makes a Harry Potter allusion. It reads, French kiss. Shared breath, swapped spit. You better give me your soul on this beach. Not this closed mouth shit. Inhale you like a dementor, hardcore carnivore. What, you've never stuck your tongue down a throat before? You pull back and say, I kiss intense. Then you smile and lean in for more. While I feel the reference again takes away from what the poem is, I also want to highlight it for how representative it is of a lot of poems in the collection. So many of these pieces feel good on the conceptual level. The idea of sucking out someone's soul via French kissing is alluring as far as poetry goes, and yet the execution's just not quite there. This piece here is in a similar position. Nudes. 20 months too late, I deleted your nudes. Full moon possessed, Polaroids in shreds, flushed down the toilet, flushed faces. I was the one in handcuffs, you were the one on your knees that night in Sicily. The ones you keep of me. How often do you still look? Again, I don't think this poem reaches as high as it could, even though the concept is interesting and unique. The idea of having naked pictures of someone else, destroying them, and knowing naked pictures of you might still exist, I think there's a lot to explore there. But the poem, from my point of view, doesn't go far beyond the surface level. Part of me wants more from the relationship. What was it like? How did it end? I feel like that's sort of the natural framing this poem should take, no? But there's not much there. Okay, with all that said, let's talk about the poems I liked most in the collection, and why I feel they work better than some of the others. The ones. When I'm 82, will I be telling my granddaughter about the ones that got away? The ones that I got away from? Will I bore her with my horrors of man, or will I be perched by the pool, unbothered, rating her handstand? Now, don't get me wrong, I've still got a lot of problems with this poem, but I feel like it sticks the landing better than many other pieces in the book. The last line is kind of cute and gives us something to latch onto. What's more, that visual feels like a very accurate portrayal of a child. Like, can't you just see a child in your mind saying something like, Grandma, look at my handstand, is it good? I can completely picture that, and I like that Richardson gives us that image. So what would I change here? Well, the whole one that got away is an obvious cliche. There could perhaps be a more unique way to phrase that idea, including with some strong visuals and memories. What's more, the poem could impart some speculative wisdom into how a woman might reach the point that the speaker hopes to by the end. Also, on a formatting level, I feel like a lot of beginner poets feel the need to space their lines like this, the idea being that it feels avant-garde. But in my mind, it's kind of distracting, especially the one line that just says, or. I understand that it's a significant turn in the poem, but I think the word or kind of lifts that weight on its own without having to make it an entire line. Then there's this poem, Mud. Lotus, a flower that only blooms in the mud. Actors and characters bleed into one. An old man screams at a production assistant, ego insistent. Number 1 on the call sheet of life. I want to be a different type of pig. I want to play in the mud. I want to bloom in it. Again, I'm still not sure the poem lives up to the title or concept, but this feels like a poem that only Richardson could write. This is, we assume, about her time on the set of the White Lotus. However, I find myself wondering if this poem would work at all without that outside context. I'm curious. What do you all think? Does this piece work at all if you don't know who Richardson is? For my money, I still kind of like the comparison between a pig and a lotus flower. I do wish she'd gone a little deeper there, but still, I can't say that's a metaphor I've ever heard before. This one is prefaced with the handwritten text written by me in 2009, lol. Question mark? Boys are confusing. Boys are a fog. They float by and they don't tell you what they're thinking. Boys are a mystery, one you want to give up on, but you can't. They have their own language. It's stupid. Boys are overrated. Boys are too confident. I'm 14 now. I'm going for men. Okay, admittedly, I laughed at this one. There's a lot of charm in framing the poem from the point of view of a 14-year-old. Even if I didn't know it was literally written by a 14-year-old, I think that charm would still stand. But even though it's funny on a first read, it's also kind of sad. Like, I think of the young speaker who so badly wants a mature man and who will probably be taken advantage of just knowing the world we live in. I don't know, maybe that thought says more about me as a reader. I guess I just fear for her and her naivety. What do you think? Do you see any sadness in the speaker's conclusion? No matter what you see, I see more depth here than there initially appears to be. Okay, let's conclude with some final thoughts. As with many celebrity collections, I think this book is sort of okay if you're just looking to get into poetry. Like Instapoets and other celebrity collections of our time, it's an okay gateway book to other poets. Jimmy Kimmel said,
I read the book.
You read my poems?
I did. Well, it's easy to read. It's not very long.
It's not that long.
That said, as I've pointed out throughout this video, most of the poems read as pretty unsubstantive or underdeveloped. You may have noticed Richardson rhymes a lot, but kind of just whenever, like when it feels convenient and easy to do so. As with many celebrity poets, I would hope she tries to challenge herself with more structured pieces as she goes on. In the introduction, she mentioned that her first poem came about from a journal entry, but then in her interview with Today, she made it sound like pretty much all of her poems came from journal entries. And, well, as with Megan Fox's collection, I think that's kind of notable in the poems themselves. Also, one more insertion as I'm editing here. In her interview with Kimmel, Richardson says there was a sad clown motif, and I mean, I can definitely see that on the cover, and with her saying it, I can kind of see it in one of the poems. But I don't know, I don't really pick that up. I think it would have been interesting to lean into that harder. Again, more specificity, more imagery, more to latch onto. As for her own feelings on the book, Richardson said,
It is kind of like really lunatic of me to put it out there, but it's also like, I think, cured a bit of my sadness.
And I mean this sincerely, that is wonderful for her. I'm glad poetry helped her in that way. But what about the reader? I know a lot of you get mad when I talk about the financials, seeing as this is a piece of art, but even though it most certainly is, we simply can't separate it from the cost. That's just not the world we live in, I'm sorry. So I have to point out that this book was like $30. There are 55 poems in this collection. Is that honestly worth 30 bucks? Perhaps not, but arguably when you include all the artwork. But if you'd ask me how many poems there were in this collection before counting, I wouldn't have said 55. It honestly felt like a lot less. So as an artistic project, maybe the book is worth $30, but as a poetry collection, I really don't think so, to be honest. But let me know if you disagree. John Green recently put out a video noting that books in general have become very expensive, perhaps more expensive than what they're actually worth. His point there was that, in theory, you get more hours of entertainment out of a book than you do, say, a movie. With a collection like Richardson's, a collection that's super digestible, you don't get many hours of entertainment. And granted, that's the case for a lot of poetry collections. If you want to, you can make your way through them much quicker than prose. So what I hope for in a collection is that at least a few of the poems will really stick with me after closing the book. For me, recent collections in that vein include The Boss by Victoria Chang, Reader Eye by Corey Van Landingham, and Don't Let Me Be Lonely by Claudia Rankine. Those were all relatively shorter collections. They took longer to get through than Richardson's, but I still could have read them each in a day if I wanted to. The difference is how each collection stayed in my memory after the fact. I think I've mentioned that point in these celebrity poetry videos before, so I won't harp on it. But let me reiterate some other points I've made in these videos before. I am so glad Richardson took up an interest in poetry and gave it a shot to the point that she published a book. That was a very brave and difficult thing to do, no matter how good the book turned out. As she said herself,
It's a vulnerable thing to write like this, whether it's good or not, and put it out in the world.
I 100% agree. I genuinely hope her book will get more people interested in poetry. And beyond that, I hope Richardson will continue to write poetry. I hope she will read, diversify her intake, and diversify her output. And maybe, if she does, she'll have an even better collection for us soon. I genuinely want to see all poets improve. But what do you think? Did you enjoy any poems here? What did you think of my critiques? Please tell me everything. As always, I want to take this time to thank my patrons. They keep the lights on, and I truly can't thank them enough. If you want to support the channel, you can consider donating too. For just $3 a month, you can see videos early, get access to the community Discord, and receive priority review for your work over on the second channel. You can also follow me on my socials, but no matter what, keep reading, keep writing, and ultimately keep in mind, this is a rough draft. Also, why is the table of contents printed horizontally? I get it, it's on a table, haha, but you could still stack the elements vertically on the table. This is just annoying. Oh, and by the way, Matthew McConaughey's book is next on the chopping block, so stay tuned for that.